Welcome to our webinar on leadership and team building for practice success. My name is Dr. Pat Wolfers-Bethke. This career presentation is brought to you by the AVMA, which represents more than 91,000 member veterinarians from all fields of the profession, and the AVMA Veterinary Career Center. The VCC is a well-known niche professional job board for your veterinary career needs, including job search and career assistance, and is the founding member of the Veterinary Career Network. Jobs posted on any of the 50 VCN partner sites are seen on every site on the network, making your job search easier. Find us on Facebook at AVMA Vets and Twitter at AVMA Vet Jobs. You are in listen mode only. If you have any questions during the presentation, type them into the question area on your control panel to be answered during the question and answer period at the end. This webinar is being recorded. It will be posted at avma.org/career webinars. For information on team building, go to avma.org/teamcpr. I am pleased to welcome Dr. Peter Weinstein. Dr. Weinstein received his DVM from the University of Illinois. He has been a practice owner, has worked in the pet insurance industry, and is now a small business and corporate consultant, as well as the executive director of the Southern California Veterinary Medical Association. He is a member of the AVMA's Economic Strategy Committee. He is an author and speaker on topics focused on making veterinary medicine better for those in the profession. I will now turn the presentation over to Dr. Weinstein.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pat. Let me get my presentation up and running here. I'd like to welcome everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. And thank you for joining us on a topic that is not on the agenda for most veterinary schools. It's not in the curriculum. It's not really something that they focus on, but it's a topic that is truly significant in the success of a veterinary practice. Feel free to send me an email or drop me a line at any point if you have any questions about the presentation or about the discussion that we're going to have. If you'd like some resources, be more than happy to follow up with any questions that we can't answer on the call today. So let's get started with a simple question. Are leaders born or are leaders made? And I think we have a poll for this one. Pat, can you put that poll up? So take a moment and select one of the following. We'll keep the poll up for just a little bit and answer the question. Leaders are born, made, created in a lab, more than one of the above, or none of the above. All you have to do is check the box and we will see what we get. And Pat will put those questions up. Very good. More than one of the above. I would agree. It's interesting. When I was at veterinary school at the University of Illinois, I did run for class president, I believe, if I remember right, 1 year. I think I got 2 votes. Being that it was in Illinois, I voted twice. And never thought I would have a leadership role. Didn't really have a leadership role in veterinary school. Never had one in high school or college. And it wasn't until I came out of school and started to work for leaders in the veterinary profession that I recognized what leadership was and started to develop some innate leadership that my parents had shown, but that I really wasn't aware of. So leadership to me is a combination of nature and nurture. So some other questions that come up that you need to think about. Just because you're a manager, does it mean you are a leader? Absolutely not. Management and leadership aren't the same thing. Managing a practice doesn't necessarily mean you will be a leader in that practice. What about the fact that you have graduated from veterinary school? They gave you that piece of cardboard that says DVM or VMD or whatever it may say on it, and you are said, congratulations, you're now a veterinarian. Does that mean you're automatically a leader in your practice, in your business? Absolutely not. Just because you have a veterinary degree doesn't mean you are a leader. Now, those of you who are hospital owners or prospective hospital owners, just because you own a business, does that mean you're going to be a leader in your practice or your business? Absolutely not. There is no guarantee of leadership just because you own something. You have a guarantee of ownership, but not a guarantee of leadership. And finally, you take that entrepreneurial leap. You make that jump from associate or from vet school or from whatever position, and you become an entrepreneur and you start to have a great vision of the future. Does that mean you're going to be a leader? Absolutely not. There is no guarantee of leadership just because you have a vision. Harry Truman, great quote. Leadership is the ability to get other people to do what they don't want to do and like it. Leadership is the ability to get other people to do what they don't want to do and like it. And we do this every day. I can't believe that the people in the kennel at your practice really enjoy cleaning up poop, but they do it and they like it. And they like it because they've got great leadership within your practice. So besides kind of a Harry Truman, hey, Pat, who do you think of when you think of a leader?
Well, you told me you were going to ask me this question, and I did have to think about this very, very carefully. And to me, I started with the characteristics. It's somebody who's always looking for ways to make things better for those around them. And I hate to be cliche, but the person who does that is usually your mother. But saying that as it's not for nothing that the athletes don't say hi, mom, that's who they think of. But the other person I can think of is Fred Rogers. He was always trying to make things better for his audience.
That's great. Mom and Fred Rogers. Very cool. Well, here are some others that have had leadership roles. Now, you may not agree with the way they were leaders. You may not agree with their outcomes, but they were all considered leaders in the work that they did and with the outcomes that they created. So the qualities of a great leader is what we're going to talk about, but John Maxwell also had a great quote, and leadership is about disposition, not position. It's not a title, it's how you work and the things that you do and the way you act. Leadership is about disposition, not position, which is why when you think about the title of an entrepreneur, hospital owner, or even veterinarian, those are positions. It's how you act in that leadership role that truly determines whether you're going to be a great leader or not. And the characteristics that people who admire and look up to leaders, the characteristics they look for are honesty. Yes, the ability to basically be truthful and honest and have integrity. Forward-looking, absolutely. To be a leader, you need to be looking down the road and seeing the future ahead of you. Inspiring. True leaders inspire the people around them to do things that they really don't want to do and to go places that they've never been before. And the best leaders are truly competent in the work that they do, and they lead by example. So honest, forward-looking, competent. So let's look at them each individually. When we talk about honesty, we're talking about being truthful, about showing integrity and character. And not only are they doing it themselves in showing truth, but they trust others and they are trusted by others. So honesty is truly an important attribute that a leader has. And I think we lose credibility and we lose faith in those leaders that don't show honesty. Another attribute, forward-looking, visionary. Most leaders are visionary. They have a future look. I love to use the metaphor of they're in the car looking through the windshield and they're not constantly looking at the side view or rear view mirrors. They have a direction that they're heading towards. They are looking to do things differently. They're looking to help create the future instead of just living in the past and living in the present. They are looking to help set the direction of the future for their business and for whatever industry they may be in as well. Motivating. They will take a team that may be upset or bothered and they can make them uplifted and inspired, and they can create enthusiasm enthusiasm for work that is extremely challenging, and the veterinary profession is an extremely challenging profession. They are the ones who come in the morning, and no matter how bad the day before was, can help you get through the day. They're the ones at the end of the day who cheerlead you on, and their enthusiasm is infectious. And when they have that energy, and when they're truly cheerful, and no matter how bad things are going, they have an optimistic outlook, they can be truly motivating to each and every member of the team. So motivating is another attribute that you should be looking to have as a leader within your practice. And finally, a team builder, because you truly need to have people working with you. And those people they have to be, leaders are competent in the team that they build. It's not a revolving door in their practice. It's a team that comes together. It works together. They are capable in the work that they do, and they're efficient and proficient in the work that they do as well. And leadership coming from the top also is very professional. So you take and create a professional team that works together, that stays together, that plays together, that does things effectively, efficiently, and is always following the direction, the future thought, and the vision from a leadership standpoint. So those four attributes, honest, forward-looking, inspiring, competent, motivating, team building, all of these attributes are what you should be looking to have or looking to develop to become a greater leader within your practice. However, when all is said and done, there is one most important requirement for all leaders. Pat, what does that poll question look like? So, when all is said and done, of the 5 things that are listed there, what is the most important requirement for a leader? Honesty, forward-thinking, inspiring, competent, to have followers. If you were to pick one. It'll be interesting to see where the responses there is on this. This is not a scientific question. This is just an opinion-based question. So I'll give you a couple of seconds just to pick one, and then we'll get those poll results up and see where we are. And of course, all of those characteristics that we've talked about and others will truly make you a leader within your practice. And the more you have of all of them, the better off you will be. You're going to get so there's a fairly even spread with honesty, inspiring, and to have followers. Excellent. Excellent. As I said, there's not really any correct answer. It's just interesting. But I like to think of the fact that when all is said and done, the most important requirement for a leader is to have followers. Because if you're there by yourself, who are you leading? Who are you making a difference with? You could be honest, you could have integrity, you could be forward-looking, but if you don't have people that you can motivate and you don't have people to lead, you really can't be a leader. So truly, you want to have followers from that standpoint. Hang on just a sec. There we go. When you build this practice and the practice that you're working in, leadership is the foundation. It's the cement upon which everything in your practice is done. That leadership foundation or cement has pillars that help the building of the business. And those pillars are a vision, a mission, core values, and standards of care. So these 4 pillars are the framework of the house or the practice that you've got, and they sit in that leadership cement, that leadership concrete that you will have. And the mission is what you're looking for. What's the direction? What is your practice going to look like? What is the vision that you have for your practice at its optimal state, its perfect performance, it's fully mature? What's that practice look like? What's that target you're trying to accomplish and work your practice towards? Because of course, if you don't know what your business is going to look like, how do you know when you get there? To me, the vision is the GPS that you program into your practice. What is that direction that you want to have, and what's that vision that you're going to have? And the mission is what gets you up in the morning. It's your why. Why do you do everything that you do? Your mission is the legacy. It's what you want people to be thinking about of you and your practice. If you were to be at the dog park listening to what people had to say. What do you want people to be saying about how your practice has influenced them or influencing the community? Core values, those are the value statements that you have and how you behave within your business, within your practice. And core values allow you to hire, and they allow you to fire, and they allow you to set standards within your practice of how people will act. And then to me, standards of care, well, that's how we're going to do things. That's the standard that we're going to uphold within our practice. And having that standard helps bring your team together to understand that we are a pain-free practice or a fear-free practice, or we provide a high standard of clinical care, whatever it is from that standpoint. So these 4 pillars sit in that leadership cement, and everything within your practice is built around them. So the vision answers the question, where are we going? What is the direction? If you were to have a staff meeting and somebody were to say to you, hey, doc, what do you see long term? What do you see as the opportunities for this practice down the road? Where are we heading? Or if you're hiring a veterinarian and the veterinarian comes in and says, doc, where do you see your practice 5 years, 10 years from now? And you can't answer the question, then you're just driving around in a circle. You really have no forward looking. It's almost like Groundhog's Day. You're getting from the movie with Bill Murray. You're just trying to get through the day and deliver a service. When you have a vision, every day that you're delivering that service, you're moving closer and closer to your ultimate vision. Here is a thought of a mission statement. And the mission statement answers the question, why are we here? What gets us up in the morning? What motivates us to do the things that we do? It could be money. It could be giving back to the community. It could be doing good for the animals and the pet owners within your community, or the horses or sheep or goat or pigs or cows or whatever it is that you are working with in your community. And Simon Sinek wrote a great book, and there's a great TED Talk called Start With Why. And I would strongly suggest watching the TED Talk, reading the book, listening to it on Audible, whatever the case may be. But it's really helping you to think about why you do everything you do. So you know what your outcome is going to be. That's your vision. And you know why you're going to do it. And then having that standard of care, the values, having values. And again, values answer the question, how are we going to behave as we work together? Integrity, honesty, respect, communication, whatever your core values are, it's an extremely important, simple answer to this question that your practice needs to have. And there are usually about 5 to 7 core values that any business has that answers this question of how will we behave as we work together. So you've got this vision that you're heading towards, and you're doing it for a great reason, which is your mission. And you're doing it with a set of values that everybody believes in, everybody supports. And you know what? If you're hiring people and you let them know what your core values are and they can't adhere to those values, maybe they're not a good fit. Maybe they won't fit within the culture of your practice. But vision, mission, core values are 3 of the 4 pillars. And then the 4th pillar is the standards of care. And the standard of care, yeah, that's what we learned in school. And that's what we teach every day. And it answers the question, how will we do it here? How will we handle pain management? How do we handle vaccinations protocols? Can you have 6 different pain management protocols with 6 doctors? Can you have 6 different vaccination protocols with 6 doctors? Or can we come up with a consistent way of doing things that says, this is how we do it here, and we will do it this way until we can find a better way? And it tells your team how you do things. And it tells your new hires how you do things. And it tells the world how you do things from a clinical standpoint. And it is extremely important to be consistent in the way you deliver care. And that's the standard of care. And that's that 4th pillar, that in conjunction with the vision and the direction that you have and the mission, the why, what gets you up in the morning, and the core values, how you're going to behave, that truly supports you, your practice, and it's all built upon the leadership. Because really, the top priorities of leaders are communication. And you want to communicate your vision, your mission, your values, your standards of care. And you want to do it clearly, honestly, frankly, and frequently. Your mission statement should be discussed at every staff meeting. It should be posted somewhere in the hospital for everybody to see. And it should be something you share on your website with your clients. They need to know, and you need to be crystal clear in terms of communication. The best leaders are great communicators. And when we talk about communication, recognize that communication goes two ways. It's both speaking and listening. And I would honestly say that one of the weaknesses that we tend to have in veterinary medicine is the tendency not to listen well. And I will echo that in human healthcare in the fact that in a survey done of human doctors, it takes them 18 seconds before they interrupt a patient who is giving them information. We need to learn to listen. We need to learn to listen to our clients. We need to learn to listen to, learn to listen to our clients. We need to learn to listen to our staff. And we need to listen more and speak less. So information given and received is the most effective form of communication. This was a sign, and I saw it in a treatment area in a veterinary hospital that I was visiting, and I thought it was, I think the owner thought it was funny, except that he was kind of living to it. And I think that this is not a good thing. The beatings will continue until the morale improves is not a good methodology of communication. Working together as a team, listening, sharing ideas, that's showing leadership. Beating people down, demoralizing people is not leadership. And the bottom line is trust is huge in leadership. As a leader, you're going to make promises to your team. You're going to make promises of a safe place to work, a paycheck, of care, of compassion, of whatever your values may be. And they're going to make a promise to you as well. But when that promise is made, you're going to earn their trust, especially when you live that promise. When that promise is broken, if you personally as a leader violate a core value, then that promise is broken and trust suffers. And when trust suffers, you will start to see a revolving doors of staff and doctors, because when people look up to you as a leader, they're looking to be able to trust you and that you're going to act in the best interest of them as a person, of the pets and owners for whom you care. So you need to build trust, you need to keep trust, and you need to be very careful about breaking that trust, because it is a great way to violate that leadership and take that leadership title away when that trust is lost. So please be honest, show integrity, because as a leader, when you talk to the team, you want them to know that you can count on me as the leader, that I'm here to protect you. And when that client rips your front office staff a new one, you need to let the client know that that's not the way they treat your front office staff, and that they need to treat the front office staff with the same respect that they treat you. And if you need to fire that client because your staff is not being shown respect, you will find you are acting as a leader and that your staff can count on you. And the leader to the team then, when you show them that, you're earning their respect and they're earning your trust, they will count on you and you can count on them. That's what leadership is all about. It's supporting one another. Great football coach, Lou Saban out of Alabama. If you as a leader want to develop accountability and trust, you have to live the ethics and values you want to see from your team. You have to walk the walk and talk the talk. You got to clean the cages. You got to answer the phone. You can't be bigger than or higher than any of your members of your team. Hey, when I owned my practice, I would walk a dog, I'd clean a cage, I'd put a catheter in. Sometimes it's to show a message that I'm not bigger than anybody else that's there, that I am part of the team and that I will help them out, and that in exchange, I will hope that they will help me out. So live the ethics and values you want to see from your team. Walk the walk, talk the talk. So we talked about leadership, and there's a little bit of a confusion at times within practices about what's leadership, what's managership. So let's talk about the difference between leaders and managers. And Tom Peters has a great quote that says, management is about arranging and telling, basically rearranging the deck chairs in the Titanic. And leadership is about nurturing and enhancing. Leadership is about nurturing and enhancing. And I love to think of that when I think about nurturing, as at hiring the 16-year-old animal caretaker, kennel kid, and making them a tech assistant and giving them the opportunity to become a technician or a client service person. And then they go off to veterinary school and they come back and they want to be an associate, and then they want to be a partner. And that's nurturing, and that's enhancing. That's not just telling and managing. And that's the difference between management and leadership. Leadership help employees know their role, help employees succeed, and help the practice to succeed. Managers help the team answer the question, who will do what by when? Managers get the tasks done. Leadership determines what the right tasks are. Managers get the tasks done through people, while leaders determine what the right tasks are. Our goal from a leadership standpoint is to make our employees succeed. And to make them succeed, we need to take them and give them career opportunities and not just jobs. We need to give them education and help them grow. We need to give them the test answers on day one and not constantly be testing them without teaching them. We have to give them the training and the education to make them successful. And when you do that, you make the practice succeed. And to do that, you have a manager who makes sure that the resources are best cared for and they're doing things and they're doing them correctly. Managers are task-oriented. They know what needs to be done. Leaders are purposeful and they have a vision. And they explain the mission, which is why you need to get there. Managers focus on how to get things done. They're really focused on the status quo, whereas leaders are looking down the road, and they're sometimes pulling the managers with them as they help move the practice forward. Now, we have a lot of managers that are great leaders as well and have a vision, and we need to let those managers be a part of that leadership vision as well. So your managers are tending to be the ones who are looking at the numbers and the trending from that standpoint, while the leaders are saying, yeah, things are good now, but I want a bigger practice and I want to do these services. So together, a great manager and a great leader will make a practice successful. The manager has his or her eye always on the bottom line, or the dashboard in this case. The leader's eye is on the horizon. Where are you headed? And can the manager help you get there? And does the manager have a vision as well that will help you get there? So as a leader, you have a big picture view, and your manager is there to help you accomplish that view. Here's your challenge, whether you're a manager or a leader, is to get everybody on the same page of the program. In veterinary medicine, we have one of the most complicated healthcare professions with so many moving parts. There is no other healthcare profession where you can get a bath, a manicure, a pedicure, pick up a bag of food, get your teeth cleaned, and have a colonoscopy all in the same location, all at the same time on the same day. There is nobody who does that. There are more staff members per doctor in veterinary medicine than there are in the other healthcare providers. So how do we get this chaos under control? It truly takes leadership. It takes the ability to get everybody singing from the same page of the prayer book, or to sing the same words. And in veterinary practices, we are getting so much information, so much knowledge bombarding us each and every day. As a leader, it is our job not to live in this chaotic world. I mean, I'm sure that looks like your veterinarian's desk at times, or even the treatment room during the middle of the day. But it's how do we take this information and how do we organize it? And how do we prevent the chaos that occurs throughout the day in most veterinary practices? That's what leaders do. That's what managers help leaders to accomplish. It's taking all of this information and controlling it from a standpoint that allows you to focus and function and become more effective. Pat, I think we have another poll question that comes up here. So the poll question is going to be focusing about vision. And how much do employees know about their workplace mission and what's expected of them? And so the question is, what percentage of all employees do you think know their workplace mission and what is expected of them? Is it less than 25%, 25 to 50, 51 to 75? So I'm going to give you the answer in terms of a national survey, but what do you think, based upon your experience, is the number of employees or percentage of employees know what's expected of them. And answer for yourself as well. Do you really have any clue what's expected of you? And or what does your team have any clue what's expected of them? So take just a moment to answer the question, because even in the most successful businesses, only a percentage of the employees know what the vision or mission is. Less than 25%, 25 to 50%. So basically 79%, 80% of the respondents know what the workplace mission and vision is, or that all employees. So in a survey, 50% of employees are clear about what their business is trying to achieve. If your team has no clue what you're trying to achieve, how can they help you get there? If you don't tell them what the direction is, how can they help you get there? All they're doing is helping add to the confusion. They are unsure, they are uncertain as to what your practice is trying to accomplish if you cannot communicate to them. Now, our survey, scientific survey on this webinar, said 80% have no clue where you're headed. You, as leaders, need to clearly communicate expectations. If you can't give direction, how can you be a leader? Because people want to follow you. 80% of the people on this survey felt that employees are unclear about expectations from a vision and mission standpoint. Doesn't that scare you? That should bother you, because that means every day you're just trying to survive. You're not necessarily trying to move forward. As a leader, you need to correct that. You need to communicate the expectations. You need to have a much better way of communicating the vision and the mission that you want to accomplish. And most of you were followers at one point in time, but your job as a leader is to make your followers successful. As I said, careers, not just jobs, opportunities to grow, not just boredom, and give them the answers, make them thrive, send them to continuing education, giving them tools for success. You were a follower at one point. What did it take for you to become a leader, and how can you grow leaders within your practice? And how can you let them know through communication that you want people who want to be leaders as part of your team? And of course, leadership requires successful recruitment of followers, because to truly lead, as we talked about earlier, you need some followers. Well, that's a fancy way of saying team building. And we talked about how important team building is to being a leader early on. So team building is the ability to take a group of individuals and make them a high-performing team. Whether you have 3 employees or 100 employees, they all come from different backgrounds. They all have different educational experiences, and they all have different generations. And they're trying to work together to provide care for horses and pigs and sheep and goats and dogs and cats. And they all come with different values. So how do you bring everybody together and get them to focus not just on themselves, but to focus on the entire team? And that is such a great challenge in veterinary medicine. One of the reasons we are constantly looking, whether it's for new veterinarians or new technicians, is this inability to bring the team together to perform. And that's where leaders need to come on board, and that's where managers need to come on board, is to take these group of individuals and get them to work towards the common goal, the common vision, the common mission. And of course, if you don't communicate to them, how do they know what that is? And if you have a team of individuals, well, that's really hard to be successful, because they are all looking toward their best interests, not the greater good of the practice or the team. Working in teams does not come easily for physicians, and I would suggest for veterinarians as well, who still most often see themselves as heroic lone healers. Yeah, we're not that far out from the James Herriot era. So we really are solo practitioners who are bringing on other doctors, and the same thing in human healthcare. Nonetheless, developing teams is a key leadership function for healthcare providers of all types, and a critical competency for veterinary leaders. So we need to develop leaders within our practices and within ourselves The ability to build high-performance teams confers a competitive advantage. Absolutely. If you want to be a leader within your community, you need to build a team that stays together and plays together and works together and supports one another and fills in when people are hurt, injured, or sick, and doesn't complain, but looks for the greater good. And that comes from the top. That comes from the vision. It comes from the leadership of the practice. How do you build a team? Well, it takes time, and it's not easy. I'm a big advocate for hiring slow. Now, of course, we've got a very small labor pool at the moment. The unemployment in most communities is relatively low, so there's a lot of competition. But if you want to find a team that's going to, find individuals who are going to be a good cultural fit, you need to take the time to find the right people. Make sure that they fit within your core values. And then when they don't, we need to identify them early on in the game and send them someplace else to be employed. So take your time to hire good people, which means spending time all the time looking for the best people, not just when you need somebody, but all the time you should be looking for the best people. And you need to identify early on in the game when people don't fit within your practice. You want to make sure that you hire for that cultural fit. Don't you love it when it crashes? Hang on just a second. Get the PowerPoint back up. Technology is wonderful until it isn't wonderful. Bear with me just a second. You want to hire for that cultural fit to make sure that everybody is on the same page of the program at all times. And then you need to train them to be successful. Give them the answers. Give them the resources. Give them the tools. Don't just have them come in, fill out their paperwork, and say, hey, go follow somebody and learn what you need to do. Teach them to be successful. Ken Blanchard, author of The 1 Minute Manager, former professor of business at Cornell University, on day one of his classes would give the answers to the final on day one and spend the rest of the year teaching to those answers. Gave the final, they already had the answers, but he taught to them. Give your team the answers on day one to be successful. Let them know what it's going to be like and what they can do to become successful. And then get out of the way. Make them successful. Let them know by patting them on the back. Help them understand your vision. Help them understand what will make them successful, and let them know that they have the opportunity to grow. That's what is building a team is all about. Now, we talked about leadership, and we talked about the meetings will continue till the morale improves. Think about the following. As the boss treats the staff, so will the staff treat the clients. If you're leading by whip and chair and you're constantly negative, that's how your team will be as well. People follow and act like their leaders. So be careful. If you're hiring people and they're emulating you, or if you're hiring people that are too much like you, are you truly being a leader? Are you sending the right message? You can give a great idea to a mediocre team and they may screw it up. But if you give a mediocre idea to a great team, they'll turn it into a great product or service. Truly, if you have great people working together, they will take your dream and your vision and they will make it great. If you're a leader, it's up to you to get the right people on the team, to create the cadence and the culture that will let the team be productive, and to make sure the team stays productive even when things change. Because let's just be honest, veterinary medicine is a living, breathing organism. There is change going on all of the time. And you can't just expect people to be doing the same thing when you're getting new products, new services, new surgical procedures, and new ways of doing things. So as a leader, you have to constantly be educating your team and making them productive as the world around you changes. And of course, as we grow our practices, it becomes more and more difficult. The more people you add to the team, the more challenging it is to become a leader because of all of these cultural differences between people, educational difference, generational differences. So true leaders have this balancing act where they have to be showing their competency, their motivation to different people who are different, who are motivated in different ways, who have different visions for themselves down the road. And if somebody is 40, they may have a different need than somebody who is 20. And can you show them as a leader the direction that you want to head? Because the more you can focus on keeping your team together and working together, because staff retention equals client retention. I'm sorry, docs, if you think the clients are coming in to see you, they're not. They're very happy coming in and seeing your client service team. They love to see consistency at the front desk. They love to see consistency with your exam room nurses and your technicians. They are coming in to see you, but really they love to see that client, that consistency within your front office team, with your animal caretakers, with your technicians. And there's a message that goes to clients from your practice when there isn't that consistency, when the staff turnover is great. And how can you truly successfully move your practice forward if you're constantly in hiring mode, constantly in training mode, and not because you're growing, but because people are going? If you have a revolving door of staff, your car or your practice is spinning in circles as well. What can you do as a leader to set the vision, the mission, and the values that has you believing in staff retention? Because staff retention leads ultimately to client retention. So let's kind of tie up some loose ends and wrap things up because we're getting close to the end. Identifying the dream or vision is the responsibility of the leader. Absolutely. You're the one who's going to program the GPS. You're going to set those parameters that are going to say, here's where I want this business to be 1 year, 5 years, 10 years down the road. Without that vision, you're driving around in circles. It's Groundhog's Day. You're not moving forward. You're just existing. You're surviving. If you're constantly in survival mode, it is exhausting. You need to figure out how you can move forward. That's the job of the leader. The leader's vision and dream is supported when the team is led by example. Absolutely. Walk the walk. Talk the talk. If you lead with a whip and a chair, you will have staff that won't be following you, but feared by you, They will be afraid of you. You need to set a leadership example. And if you need to walk a dog, if you need to clean a cage, if you need to restrain an animal, if you need to answer the phone, leaders will do that. And they'll have managers who will help them become successful, and they will have a team that will help them become successful because they're supported by the leader, and the leader supports them. The ultimate objective of leadership is the successful accomplishment in the goals and objectives of the organization. Absolutely. That's the vision. What is it that you want to accomplish this month, this year, the next 5 years? Working together to know what those goals are, knowing together what those objectives are. Remember, less than 50% of the team actually knows what you're trying to do. And based upon this survey, 80% of the people have no clue what the mission or vision is of the business. It is the role of the leader to make sure that the team knows what the goals are, knows what the vision is, knows what the direction is. The success of the team comes before any individual success. Absolutely. Hiring the right people, training the right people, making people become more successful, giving them the answers to the test questions will get them to all be part of a team. And especially when they're looking to the common goal of the success of the practice, and they know that their activities will make the business successful, and subsequently they will become more successful as a result. So, effective leadership is accomplishing the mission with a minimum of expenditure of personal time and effort, and a balance between practice, staff, and individual needs and goals. It's this balancing act of meeting the needs of a millennial generation and a baby boomer generation, of a practice owner and a practice team, of clients and pet owners and pets and industry. It is truly a juggling game, and the best jugglers know how they can handle the balls, and they know how they can work effectively and efficiently from a leadership standpoint by leveraging the people that they have, by finding good managers to make sure that the work gets done correctly while they determine what the correct work is. It's all of this balancing between people and activities. And as I said earlier, veterinary medicine is a truly complex and challenging profession, and one that really needs leadership within the practice to move that practice forward. And as there are right now 5 generations of veterinarians working with 5 generations of clients and 5 generations of staff. Think about it. What do you know about these different generations? Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen X, baby boomers, maturists. We have them. They're all in veterinary medicine right now, and they all have different needs. So one of your challenges as a leader is to understand the needs. And if you're a Gen Y, do you understand the needs of the baby boomers? And if you're a baby boomer, do you understand the needs of the Gen Z? The task of the leader is to get his people from where they are to where they have not been. Absolutely. That 16-year-old animal caretaker who becomes a veterinarian and you convince to become one, or the new hire client service person who eventually becomes your manager, who was so shy and meek, but now has shown leadership capabilities and helps you accomplish your vision. Can you take your people from where they are to where they've not been? How do you know it's working? Staff satisfaction, staff retention, client satisfaction, client retention, profitability, and in this day and age, maybe more so than anything else, less stress. When you have a good team, you can go on vacation. You don't have to check your emails. You don't have to check your texts, and you don't have to respond to your phone calls, because they will take care of things. They will make sure that your team will make sure that everything is taken care of in your absence. All of these levels of satisfaction will improve your profitability, which will now allow you to reward your staff for the work that they're doing. And all of this with less stress. So here's some action items to work on. First of all, if you don't have a vision, mission, values, and standards of care, you need to create them. You need to share them. If your team has no idea what your direction is, how can they follow you? If you have no idea what your direction is, how can you get there? You need to lead by example. Be a servant leader. Take your org chart, which has you at the top in a triangle, and invert it. Put the leadership at the bottom supporting the team, and not the leadership at the top pushing down on the team. Be a servant leader by making everybody else on the team successful. Using your practice culture and the people around you, build your team to work together towards that vision and the mission. Give them the tools to be successful. Give them education. Give them support. Give them the time to learn and to become better. Because championships are rarely won without a strong team. And let's just say that your championship is your ultimate success, your ability to deliver high quality veterinary care in a highly stressful environment where the stress isn't the issue, but the quality of care is. And the ability to work together is what you're looking to do. And everybody supports one another, and everybody makes each other look good. And there's none of this, it's not my fault. We're all working together for the common goal. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. Spock said it best. So on that note, Pat, do we have any questions? Do you have any questions, Pat?
Yes, I have questions, and I'll wait for people to start typing into the question area on their control panel now. I'll ask a few questions. Now, you not only have different ages of people, but you have different personalities. So do extroverts or introverts make better leaders, or can either one be a good leader?
Either one can be a good leader. It's not about personality type. It's more about understanding what the needs of the team are and having a direction or a vision. So extroverts may do it more quietly. Introverts may do it with more fanfare. I think a combination of the two is optimal. But if an introvert wants to be a leader, absolutely, they can do so. They will lead quietly. They will lead by example, and they will surround themselves with people who may have that greater personality, who can maybe be the more vocal cheerleaders, but introverts can be just as effective as leaders as extroverts. And in some cases, extroverts may be perceived as being all for them as opposed for the good of the team. And I think sometimes those extroverts actually have to tone it down and think more of the group and not as the individual.
Well, that's good to know. And do you have any recommended resources for further leadership development? You gave some examples of books. Do you have anything that is your particular favorite?
Well, John Maxwell, John Wooden, any biographies of great leaders, Abraham Lincoln, Benjamin Franklin, Steve Jobs. I mean, there are some great books on leaders and visionaries out there. I think if you can make your car a learning library by listening in your car, working out at the gym, walking the dog, it's really nice to listen to Pandora or Spotify, but I think it's really better to listen to these podcasts on leadership. There are some educational programs. They're offered at most of the major meetings that have a leadership lean to them. I think the VHMA, the Veterinary Hospital Managers Association, has some opportunities for developing of leaderships in the manager's role to become greater leaders there. Honestly, don't look in veterinary medicine. Maybe AVMA will slap me for this, but don't look necessarily in veterinary medicine for leadership courses. Look outside of veterinary medicine. Look at the courses that are taught to leaders in industry. You don't need an MBA, but what you do need is to find opportunities where you can lead and make a difference. There are some great books, and if people want to send me an email, I'll come up with some other books. I love reading John Wooden's books and John Maxwell's books, and I love reading and learning about biographies from that standpoint. But I think look outside of the profession when it comes to learning about leadership, because I think we want to learn how other businesses were successful so we can stand out in our business.
Do you think that it's okay to not want to be a leader, that you always are a follower, but even if you're a follower, can you be a leader at any time?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, heck, if we had a world full of leaders, then where would the followers be? We would be battling for turf all the time. So I think that there is no problem if somebody wants to be a follower. And just as long as they recognize that they may not accomplish as much, they may not get as far, that's fine. You have to identify what you want personally, what fits best with you and your personal vision. Remember, we talked about a business vision, but what is your personal vision? And if your personal vision means not being a leader, that's fine. And when that switch flips, let's look at it if we're talking to a bunch of young veterinarians as we are. Sometime in life, you're going to say, I'm tired of working for somebody else. I need to work for myself. And the switch flips and the light goes on and you say, but I've always worked for somebody else. What's it going to take? And then you can start to learn how to be a leader. Remember, it's nature and nurture. What are you going to need to change in your personality to take that leadership role and to become different in the way you do things? And you can start to do it within the practice that you're working, and then you can extrapolate it into the practice that you ultimately may buy or build. So yes, we can be followers for a period of time, and in fact, most young associates are followers. And then eventually they say, if I can do it for somebody else, I can do it for myself, and they can become a leader. So yeah, there's no reason you can't be a follower for a period of time and then flip the switch and become a leader.
Sounds good. Is there any tools you would recommend to help assess the personality and character traits early on for new hires? You said, hire slow. What should you look for?
I love team-based hiring. I think one of the mistakes that we make in a leadership role is that we hire people based upon our personality, and I would say leadership and manager's role, without integrating the needs of the team. So I really think team-based hiring, where you have maybe a technician, a receptionist, and an associate doctor who are looking to hire a technician or a receptionist. But, I think having the team's voice in that decision-making goes a long way to helping find the right people, for the culture of the practice. I think hiring slow comes from integrating everybody in the team into the decision making. And I will tell you, I hired some great people as an individual, but they didn't fit the culture. And I didn't have to fire them. My staff ran them off. And I know there's some people on the phone who are laughing because they know it's happened in their practices as well. Because we didn't hire for the fit. We hired some great technically skilled technicians, but unfortunately, they didn't have the personalities to fit with the rest of the team. And so they were individual in their skills and not team in their focus. And so I really do think that when I talk about hiring slow is to make sure you integrate the opinions of the staff and the team as to whether they will be a fit, because your staff will make their coworkers extremely successful or extremely unhappy. And that adds to the revolving door that we have of employees. So I think team hiring, team-based hiring, team-based interviewing, working interviews within the legal confines of your state are all very, very important. And I would suggest that goes not just for kennel people, not just for technicians, not just for client service, but that goes for associate doctors as well, because we've all made mistakes hiring associate doctors whose egos were bigger than their skill sets and whose egos brought the team down and fractured and fragmented the team.
How do you see this type of information being incorporated into the vet school curriculum to develop our future leaders? Do you see any progress in that, or is it being done?
I think the VBMAs are doing a pretty good job of it. I love to see the leadership at the clubs. I think the clubs at the university level are great. I do a similar talk on this to many of the VBMAs around the country. So if there's vet students listening and you want me to come to your vet school, I'll be more than happy to. I think the clubs give leadership opportunities for veterinary students. I think the faculty does it somewhat, but it really needs to be integrated into a more inclusive program in things, because in many ways, we really aren't encouraged to be leaders in veterinary school. We're really encouraged to be followers. And in fact, if you speak up to a faculty member, if you speak up to leadership, you're a rebel without a clue. So I really think that it's important for the leaders in the veterinary school through SAVMA, SCAVMA, VBMA, all the different chapters and groups and everything that are there, is to come together and teach yourselves leadership and learn from the people around you. It's not going to be comfortable. It's going to feel really irritating. It's going to be like sand in your underwear until you get used to it when you're not comfortable in a leadership role. But I think we have so many opportunities in school that are outside of the curriculum that we can build leaders for the future, and we need to build leaders for the future. We need to set a precedence in the veterinary schools that will redirect veterinary medicine into the future, because we can't keep doing it the same way that we've been doing it. It doesn't work. That's called insanity.
Here's an interesting question. Is it possible to have a team where there's two leaders? How do you integrate two leaders into the team?
I think you can have two leaders. I think if the two leaders have the common vision, common mission, and common values, and they each have their own strengths, absolutely. There is no reason you can't have two partners that have a common goal within a practice, or even a manager and a leader, owner in the practice, who are working together, who focus on utilizing their strengths to help grow and develop the team. So absolutely, but it has to be, they have to be able to work together themselves and work towards the common good. Again, it all helps to have a common vision. If the two leaders have that common vision, and one strength may be people building and the other strength may be teaching, whatever the situation may be, there is absolutely no reason you can't have two leaders working together towards a common goal. In fact, I would support it, because if one leader isn't there, there is leadership on the off days. And in many practices, when the owner's not there, the owner, quote unquote, leader isn't there, when the cat's away, the mice will play. Well, there's a message there as well, that the leader hasn't shown and created a strong enough support team that the team performs in their absence. So I'm all for two leaders.
Very good. We are running out of time, so I think I have time for just one more question. And if you have a person who's moved into a manager position and doesn't really have the desire to be a leader but needs support in being a stronger manager, how do you give them support without expecting them to be a leader?
Well, I think we need managers, and I think to support somebody in a management role means to teach them what they don't know, to give them the tools to become more successful. Have them join VHMA. Have them look at what it become to become a certified veterinary practice manager. Have them learn the skills of accounting and human resources and marketing, and have them learn how to make sure things are done correctly and set up the systems and the protocols. We need people to do that because that's what managers will do, which allows leaders. Let's put it this way. The manager is driving the car. The leader is the navigator to make sure that you end up down the road. The manager has the foot on the gas, going the speed limit and going north and south, but the leader sets the ultimate role. So I think you need both, and I think you just need to find ways to give those managers the tools to become better managers, to identify what their strengths are and hone in on those, to identify what their weaknesses are and make sure that they're given the resources to improve in those areas that they may be a little bit weak. So yes, there is plenty of opportunities to grow managers into those positions, because frequently what we'll do is we'll take a receptionist and we'll give them the title as an office manager, but they've never led or never managed anything before. Give them tools to be successful. Send them to education programs. Let them listen on webinars. Have them join VHMA and learn what the skills are, and have them network with other managers to find out what they need to do.
Okay, well, thank you so very much. Yes, we are out of time. So I hope you enjoyed today's presentation. And once again, the recording will be posted at avma.org/career webinars. And again, for more information on team building, please go to avma.org/team CPR.